Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of our new series that we introduced last week, and I hope you guys liked that. And again, we're going to start bringing in new guests that you guys haven't seen before. These are going to be completely different people, and we're going to get their perspectives on the topic which we introduced last week, obviously. Again, the topic's relationships, and we introduced it last week. Again, the other thing is we're recording these things not in order, so this is actually our first recording. But anyways, that's beside the point. So this week we asked Kirsty to come on to talk about relationships. So she recently got married, and it's to my brother. Good luck to her. But she got married, and again, the topic was, different cultural marriage. What does that look like? And I thought that would be a great topic to talk about. And again, we're not going to be going to personal stories. We're just going to go just a broad discussion. So we'll get into it. We've obviously given you the questions that we were going to ask before, so definitely we'll just start it off. No one's prepared. That's all right. Just a discussion.
Yeah, we just want to get a vibe.
It's just a vibe. I think this mic keeps going down, but oh well. So again, actually, before we start, I think it would be good for you to just quickly introduce yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm Kirsty, and I'm married to your brother.
Oh, beautiful.
And we are from, I guess, objectively different cultures.
Yes. There you go. That's a beautiful way to put it. Last time I said white people culture.
White people and brown people culture. Yeah.
You could have just kept that on the wrap.
Yeah.
Conversation. Anyway. That's all right. Keep going.
That's pretty much it.
Okay, that's it. That's
that
right.
I can think of.
I'm just trying to fix the mic, but oh well. This thing keeps on going down.
Is there anything specifically that you
want to know?
What do you mean by two different cultures? How?
Well, that's a good question.
Starting off strong.
So for me, the idea of someone's culture isn't like a really strong point to me. I don't really think about it too much, and it's definitely not something I thought that much about would be completely different. It's kind of more on not your side, but I guess the Indian culture is quite strong, and it was more that, which was
so it's like very
it's not something that I held that was like super important. It was more
I understand that. I think it's the fact that I'm just being like objective here as well. Like what I've noticed, most people from like I'd say from either Asian or African backgrounds, they tend to like hold on to their culture. I'm not trying to say it in a bad way, like nobody else has culture and stuff like that, but I'm saying they place like a lot of importance on it, and I guess that's
kind of what I'm trying to get at. And I guess kind of like my culture is actually a little bit more relaxed. Like the culture is to be a bit more relaxed in culture, if that makes sense.
It's not like fully defined.
Yeah.
I don't think any culture is fully defined, right? And I think I had this discussion with someone else. It was like, I think every household, even if it's from the same place, like let's say I could have grown up in India, you've grown up in India.
Not really.
Oh, regardless, you're from that culture. That's the same kind. You could classify it as the same culture, but I think in that different household, there would be differences of beliefs. There would be different kind of way of upbringing, and that makes your culture different to mine. So I think every household has a different culture. It comes down to the parenting, the kind of environment that your parents created for you. So I think even if the question again is like the stereotype is that you've married into a different culture, but I think every marriage is into a different culture.
Absolutely.
I think
absolutely.
So the question to you now is, obviously the questions.
Can't see them.
What, before you got married, what did you kind of walk in there expecting, because people would have said, oh, you're marrying into a different culture. You would have obviously thought about this, people would have said something, I don't know. So what did you expect walking into this marriage?
I mean,
anything?
And knowing obviously what Wait, did you have any idea what the culture was beforehand? Just wondering.
That's a really good question, because one of the things that like I was told a lot before I got married that there would be a lot of not sacrifices, what's the word? Like things you'd have to compromises. Yeah, there'd be a lot of compromises you have to do to fit into the culture. I didn't really think much past that, to be honest. In general, I'm a pretty adaptive person, so as much as I thought it was like, I hadn't felt like there was any compromises that I was making. It was just minor changes. I guess like the way I thought of it is I was just going to be learning more. My expectation was not much really. Not that,
Did you
I just
expect
thought,
like random song dances in the middle?
I hadn't watched much Bollywood.
Really?
You should have done that.
It's too dramatic.
You know what to expect. You know why you get a married music starts and no.
So I didn't have that expectation.
And then you see my dad just dancing.
I just want to say I don't know what that meant.
That's alright. It's a classical Indian song, one of the old ones.
My expectation was that I would go with the flow and I would learn as I went. That was basically my expectation.
And I think that's good.
That's it.
I think everyone should walk into a relationship like that where you're willing to compromise, you're willing to adapt, you're willing to grow.
I feel like you actually have to.
You have to.
Yeah, absolutely. In any, like even if it's not different cultures, like there's going to be ways that people live.
I like the way you put it though. It's like not much of a compromise, more of like a learning experience.
Absolutely. I never felt anything was a compromise. It was just...
because I feel like compromises, you could take that in a negative way as well.
Absolutely. It felt like a negative connotation.
With opportunity of learning and stuff. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. I don't like that word.
Second question is, yes, you expected something. What did you not expect?
So the only thing that didn't meet my expectations, because my only expectation was that I was going to learn to adapt, was possibly by myself. So even though I didn't know what to expect, I expected to be perfect and know everything about that culture as soon as I got married, which is obviously a ridiculous expectation. But that's what I expected. And obviously that didn't happen because you're like, I guess one of the examples would be that I didn't really know because I never asked that you're not particularly meant to call adults by their name. You call them by auntie or amma or whatever that is. And I learned the hard way. Someone asked me like, so what do you call her now? And I'm like, Seema. And they're like, oh my God.
That's for me. Far out.
So that's the type of things I'm like, well, why didn't I know that? And like, obviously I wouldn't have known that, but but still I was like to myself, why didn't I know that?
That's true. You can't know everything, and again, you will make mistakes along the way. And then if someone corrects you, they correct you. If they don't, then it's their fault for not, telling you can't. You're not the one to blame there.
Yeah.
But and I could see that you're willing to learn a lot from that. I mean, like you said, the expectation you had coming into it was the fact that you wanted to pick everything up really quickly and just adapt to it and fit
I know it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, that is a good mentality to have. Obviously, as you said,
it's ridiculous. No, I know it's ridiculous, but it's still what I expected.
There's no way that was going to happen. But I mean, the fact that you actually had that expectation, like a lot of people, they just go into like a relationship thinking, maybe, I'm going to or they're going to compromise for me or I'm going to compromise for them. No one really takes like how should I say it? Not the step forward, but like the fact that you chose to be like, okay, I'm going to compromise. Not compromise. Sorry, what was the word? Learn. Adapt. I'm going to learn your culture just so I get to know you better.
And that's I think in any relationship. If you walk into a relationship and you're like, nah, I'm going to be me. I'm not going to compromise. This is just going to be, you do you, I do me, and we're just going to be there, but we're not going to learn from each other, right? We're not going to adapt. We're not going to surely that relationship just kind of breaks apart, and then you have those sentences, we grew apart, we kind of went our separate ways and stuff. And I think that happens only because you didn't want to work together. You couldn't adapt together. And I think in a relationship, that's probably the very important bit. You have to grow together. You have to learn together through the struggles. And that's what builds that foundation which would keep you guys together throughout your marriage.
Yeah, because
It's
you
like, it's
think
like I'm
back.
married already.
Yeah.
You know, so what?
Second question.
Third question.
Third question.
Third.
Third question. I don't
What's
know
that?
mathematics. What do you think about communication in a relationship when it comes to understanding another culture in that relationship? How important do you think that factor is?
Well, I think communication is probably the most important thing in any type of relationship. Going along with what we were saying, it's all different. Everyone's different. But perhaps when you're in an objectively different cultured relationship, it's probably even more important. Because there's definitely room for misinterpretation of things, especially in, I guess, situations where you're talking to someone and English isn't their first language and things get lost in communication.
Like my brother would have been like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" You love the English.
Maybe not that.
It means more. I think you mean more as like if it's like English is like not their first language. With
Yeah, I mean, not only that. I guess some of the things that the family do that you wouldn't understand. So, like one of the things that I was like kind of confused about when I came in is like everyone wanted to feed me, like hand feed me if I wasn't eating enough. Like I literally got chased around at a family gathering with gulab jamun.
I don't think
eat.
I don't think that's the that's just the house thing, you know. Like I'm growing up enough.
That's
right?
a cultural thing.
No, it's
like
a cultural.
I think it's
Is
a
it
cultural
cultural?
thing.
Is it everywhere?
Even my, like we literally have I think in my culture it's called geust or something. I forgot what it is, but you literally like they literally like. So we eat with like it's like
whatever, some food,
some bread thing, right? And we literally grab it, right? And it's so big, and you have like if you offer it to the person, they have to take it. Like that's the type of thing.
Yeah. I didn't understand that. Like this is just how
I'm
they
just trying to
show.
be healthy.
It's just everyone's showing love.
Yeah,
Food is like a way of showing love. I mean, in other cultures, if you eat all the food, then you're rude because you haven't eaten enough. Like, so I think it's a cultural thing.
At this point,
and that's just an example.
That's true.
But yeah, I think communication is like number one importance. And I think if you ever don't understand something, because I'm in general, not because of my culture, I'm just bad at communicating. If you don't understand something, like just ask. And like on the other side as well, probably not just assuming that they understand everything straight away. Because like we go in and like I expected to know everything, but I didn't. And maybe just like pointing out a couple of things, even if they know. Like they know it, just
So
not assuming that they
like
know
even
it.
if you think it's obvious, explain to like the other person.
Yeah,
just
like I
just
appreciate that.
communicate.
I mean, some other people might not appreciate that, but like
Communication in the sense between a husband and a wife. How
yeah,
important is that? Is it just that when we say communication? Is it just that between a husband and a wife?
I mean, it's
I think in the context of this conversation,
Yeah,
yes,
it is, yeah.
that's probably the most important one.
That's extremely. I mean, if you don't talk, are you really in a relationship? I mean, what's happening there?
Well, when it comes to like understanding the other
Confusing.
cultures, so I'm assuming your husband would be like this is what we do, and you would take your time to understand it. and
Yeah.
stuff. So that would be very.
It's
important.
more like if you say, "Oh, this is what we do," and this is what we do, but it's also to clarify we do this because of this.
That's true.
Yeah,
Explain
absolutely.
Exactly.
But
Explaining
sometimes
why.
culture doesn't have a why.
No, there's
Why
some
do you
things.
feed me so
No,
much?
That's a way of showing love.
Yeah, right.
It's definitely a way of showing love.
It's like in our culture where like I don't know, like where we basically want to like pay for somebody else and stuff like that, right? That's to show, okay, yeah, I care about this person. I want to pay like they for their meal and stuff like that. That's how I was brought up. My parents are like, okay, whenever you're out with somebody, you're not always offer to pay. That's it's like a polite, generous thing to do.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely circumstances where there is no answer that even he knows of. So like when after we got married, what was like I had to wear red and I was like,
what?
But like and then the henna, like why you got to do that? Like what's the reason?
There's some stuff.
There is actually answers to this.
I don't know. It's more like I think it's with us, right? We're brought up just doing stuff in our culture, and we sometimes just don't. Yeah, we just don't question it. Yeah, and then we just. We just do this.
That's
how I just
you don't need a reason for it. But then when someone from a third perspective comes in, like, why are you doing this stuff?
I
don't know.
I didn't ask why I had to put head on my hands, but like that's probably a bad example. But like other things.
We'll go into a deeper question. Question is, How have you often felt a cultural gap in that relationship? In the relationship.
So this is another word I don't really like.
Okay, there
like
you go.
the gap, because I've never felt. I feel like gap is associated with I felt distance.
Yeah.
And I have never felt distance.
There you go. So that answers the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
So
gotta
I've
do-
never felt
Yeah.
like a gap. I've definitely felt like there's things that I don't understand, but
Yeah.
that's something that I just like. Obviously, I don't understand
Have
it
to
because I
learn,
haven't had it, and I just learn it. Like you
Yeah.
just ask questions.
It
So I've
was
never felt like a gap.
Yeah.
I've
It
just
was
felt
it
like
was
things I
supposed
don't
to be
understand.
that kind of question. You know, have you ever felt distance?
Was
Yeah.
it like some sort of cultural shock though? Like you just married, you got into it, you came into the house like, whoa, the curry smells, like all this.
Yeah. Despite being told I would smell like curry. That wasn't a shock to me. No.
You expected that.
What's this turmeric? What's this strong?
I
My
used turmeric
nostrils,
before
whoa.
being married, okay?
Where's
you
the
very
broccoli?
I've always told a story where someone accidentally confused asparagus for broccoli, and I was a little bit surprised at that one. I don't think I've seen broccoli since I've been
I've
here.
never seen broccoli in my life.
You haven't?
I have, but like,
I'm sure you
No,
have.
I don't mean like I mean like you don't
Oh.
eat
we don't like honestly. We've never used broccoli in our curry. Like I don't know if that's even.
I'm
a
not
thing
sure
on
if I've
YouTube.
seen broccoli. Maybe once.
Have you searched up
Yeah.
broccoli curry ever?
I don't know.
There
There probably is. Man.
Yeah, no, my mom just
I've made
puts-
broccoli
yeah.
curry.
Yeah.
It was good, okay?
Never heard of it.
Um,
mix.
Yeah, exactly. This is the white and the brown
Oh,
fusion
yeah,
mix.
cultures.
Um, I think in terms of a culture, I don't think I've ever experienced a
Yeah.
cultural shock. Again, going back to the second point, my expectations, it was a shock in the way that
Yeah.
I didn't automatically know
Like,
everything.
learn
And that was really
everything, yeah.
disappointing to me
Oh,
like,
okay.
which is ridiculous, but that's just kind of the person I am. Like, I just expect myself to know everything straight away. And if I don't, then like,
Disappointment.
that's not good enough.
Don't go, man.
So yeah. Hello. We're talking about you.
No, but the one thing which I actually like, okay, so like obviously like with us where we grew up with our culture and stuff like that, and we had our own culture. Like so, you know how you said your culture is basically how do we describe it again?
Chill.
It was chill, yeah,
Chill.
Chill,
It's-
relax,
yeah,
relaxed
and-
culture.
And
I
I
guess
realized
so.
you guys are like way more adaptable than us, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, with us, we are like from the younger generation, so we might be a bit different from my parents and stuff like that. But like I know my parents, they're like in their culture, right? And they'd find it hard to adapt to a different culture and stuff like that. But like I find it like pretty, what's the word? I just say great that other people can like easily adapt to like cultures and stuff like that.
That's definitely something that I did notice. That was actually probably a little bit of a shock about how much people weren't able to adapt from, not necessarily in like my marriage. I was more like in maybe other families.
Yeah.
That it was like, you know, this is
What
the
do you
way
think
and
that
that's it.
is? So like like
I think it's
So
just the way you're brought up.
Yeah.
Our family. So like us four we'd be able to adapt.
Yeah.
We've grown up
It's
in
just
an
the way you're
environment
brought up.
where we've interacted with every culture.
Yeah.
So I think we're comfortable with every culture. But I think
I think we are chill. in
we're
that sense,
we're
like,
chill
Yeah.
in the sense
Resonate with
we
your culture, sort of
we
thing.
understand the other culture too.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess
Whereas-
you've been exposed to it.
Exactly.
If you haven't been exposed to it, then it's different and it's
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
don't
Some of our
understand
parents, They
it.
came in, from
Yeah,
overseas.
so
they
and
have-
they've been there
they
their
came
whole life
here.
with just that one thing,
Yeah.
and that's why.
So it's like I want to stay in my comfortable zone.
Make your own
Mm.
little bubble.
Yeah.
It is
So-
definitely
Yeah.
definitely understandable.
That's true. So that's good. That's
But I
great.
think that's some sort of like safety mechanism for themselves.
Yeah,
it
you know,
is,
like
it
keeping
is.
the culture strong.
It
you know,
is.
something like that.
There'll be heaps of factors, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just like, you know, keeping our culture strong. It's just it's not even just comfortability. It's like, what will people say? What happens then? You know
Yeah.
what's gonna happen? There's
That's-
just uncertainty. Everyone has that fear, right? Like, what happens if?
That's
You
a
know,
good
like-
one that again that when I was I guess exposed to it was confusing to me is the amount of importance that's put on what other people think.
Yeah.
In my culture it's all about
What
direct
you think,
family,
yeah.
what
Yeah.
you think. That's the most important thing.
It's
That's true.
There's-
It's also because of the fact I think it's in most other cultures it's like, okay, even in my culture, right, like back home, so it's not like just direct family. It's like everybody would be living together, right? So that's the thing there. It's in a way everybody is your family.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's the difference
So
between our
I guess
Yeah.
that's where when we say relaxed chill culture, direct family is mother, father, and siblings.
Yeah.
Whereas our direct family is mother, father, cousin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's our direct family,
Yeah.
and you're expected to get in touch with them here and there, right? So when my father would say this, when you're getting married, he says this because he's coming from this culture. He says this like, when you get married to someone, you're not just marrying them. Yes, in this day and age, with some people, it is, I'm just marrying you. But in our culture, you're actually marrying that entire family. You will actually have to.
You're
get
connecting
to know that
them
person
basically
and
together.
connect them, get to know them, deal with them, right? And I understand that. But,
That was definitely something I was told before I was married. You're marrying this family.
Yeah, it's
And
not
marrying.
And I love that. It's such a good, it's such a big,
it's
comfortable
very inclusive.
family.
It's inclusive.
It's really nice.
So that's where, what will people say? Or, what about this person? Have you thought about that person? Have you thought about that person? It takes you away from what do I actually want? Do I continuously think about what that person wants, what that person wants? What do I want? Right. And so you can get caught up in that battle. I think, what do I want? What does my family want? What does that cousin want? What about those people in India? What about the person in Africa? Who knows?
Yeah.
And you can get caught up in that.
Should you prioritize them or give them?
It depends.
I think it depends on the situation, and you definitely need to consider your family.
Yeah.
But it really depends.
It literally, it depends on how close you are with everyone and what you think.
And what the actual thing is as well.
I was at a point, I was like, when we talk about our wife and when we talk about our mothers, what are their positions in our lives? Because, you love your wife, you love your mother as well. So where do they sit? So
there shouldn't be a hierarchy.
Apparently there is.
I don't think there should be a hierarchy.
There's no hierarchy, but there's a position for people in your lives, right? So where does your father, so there's a quote that, you Muslims would know when it comes to, you would know, maybe you ask me, because it's a quote.
I mean, it's like, taught. We grew up with
this
basically.
This is a song that, who do you love the most? And it says Allah, and then your prophet.
It's the Allah, prophet, and then three times your mother.
Three times your mother, and then your father, right? There is that hierarchy. That's like a hadith by our prophet that you love your God first, and then you love the prophet, and then you love your mother. And then the person that was asking the question to the prophet said, okay, who next after my mother? He said again, your mother. And then he said, okay, I get it. Who next? And then he said, your mother again. And then he's like, okay, I get it, 3 times. And then he said, okay, who next? And he said, your father. So after 3 times, our prophet said, your father. So I was like, okay, I get that.
Where does your wife
sit?
Yeah,
now what? So
getting to that one.
There was a story where some people that are watching this might not be able to relate, but when you pass away, there's a saying that if you can say the shahada, which is that oath that you believe in one God, the testimony of your faith before you die, you'll enter paradise, kind of thing. It's like it's a good way to die, if you can say that. It's like final seal. Yeah. So this person, good bloke, he was on his deathbed, and the prophet came to him and said, say the shahada, say this testimony before you pass away, and he couldn't say it. And so there was this. So the prophet asked the people, "Is his mother alive?" And they said, "Yes, the mother's alive." So he went to the mother, and they asked, "Are you happy with your son?" Oh, yes. Right, and I think you've heard of this hadith. And the mother said, "I think she said, no, I'm not. I'm not happy with my son." Yeah. And he said, "Why?" And he's done all the prayers, he's done all these good things in life, but his mother was not happy with him, solely because he chose his spouse over the mother. Right? I think that was because
the thing is, I've heard a different thing where it says when it's with your wife and your mother, right? It's you should pick. In a way, it's try to please them both in a way.
Try to please them both.
But it's also it's your wife. I think technically also comes first, right? Yes. You should never make your mother unhappy.
No, this is just understanding where the mother sits as well, right? In all of this, sure, you love your wife, but don't displease your mother in loving your spouse. Right,
but but the thing is, what I'm trying to say with that is, it's not like if it comes to decision making, right? It's try to please them both, but in the end, it's because your wife is like your direct family in a way, and so at that point, you do have to make choices for your family with your wife.
You have to prioritize, and doing so, you should not make your mother be displeased, right?
Because they
so
there's the other saying, obviously, that
I don't know, man.
paradise.
I'm not married.
That as well. I don't know the situation.
I'll worry about it when it
I don't
comes.
think it should be that hard to do both.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't
be that
It shouldn't be
hard
hard
to
as well.
And
Yeah.
like, and my knowledge of like the hadith is definitely not as good as yours, but the general understanding that I get is always put your parents first.
That's because they say that like heaven is under your mother's feet.
Yeah.
Like that's like
there is still that there's a place for the mother and there's a place for the wife, right? I was just at a point where like, okay, where do these two people sit? Because you can love them both equally, but where do they sit in the eyes of God, kind of thing? And so, yeah, we should think first. But I was just getting to a point where I was like, so you have to love them both, but in all of that, you have to keep both of those people happy. Regardless,
it's a hard task.
It's a hard task, but we should keep moving forward.
It shouldn't be hard though.
It shouldn't be hard.
It shouldn't be hard.
It shouldn't be hard.
Marriage is fun, all right? Don't make it too
Definitely
complicated.
How do you know?
It's not hard.
How do you know?
I'm expecting it to, man. If it's not, I'm not married.
If it's not fun, you're out.
Stop, man.
I think, like, I don't know if there's a hierarchy, but you always have the responsibility of your parents.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way.
There's
that's
no
the
hierarchy,
understanding
but
that I get.
everyone has their place,
Yeah.
kind of thing, right? And they should understand their place.
Make everyone happy. That's the
Make
best.
everyone happy. At least the people that you can make happy. They matter to you. Anyways, we keep moving forward. There was a question I was going to ask.
Yeah, I think the last point is like, what is your advice
Yes, there you go.
for other people that want to get married to different cultures?
I think if I was talking to myself, it would be you can't really automatically know everything, and you don't know what you don't know, and the other person doesn't know what you don't know, so it's hard to prepare you. It's more about learning slowly and understanding that the other person might not understand something. Like it's really general, but like it's a learning process.
Just talk.
It's talking, yeah,
Yeah,
and there
a lot of
shouldn't
talking.
be like it's all about learning, not giving things up
Yeah.
at all. It's
'Cause you
it's
still-
just
you-
don't
you-
expect to know everything straight away, and if you're confused, don't ever just like sit on it. You just gotta ask. Make sure you communicate. It's all like basic stuff. Like there was nothing specifically that I'd say.
Has it been interesting throughout till now?
Yeah.
There you go. That's all we put in.
So it's been fun. Okay, yeah, you're
It's
okay.
fun,
Okay.
If you
definitely.
marry into a different culture and day one it's a shock and you're traumatized, then don't do it.
Don't do
Day one
I-
was
I-
great. Like there was so much interesting things. Like feed him this, feed me that. Like I was like, whoa,
It's always a great day.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
food. It's
whoa.
beautiful.
We gotta go get money, otherwise there's no shoes or there's no people. Like you can't get in the house. I was like, well, this is really fun. So the first thing we ever did as a married couple, he took me to the bank and I had to take my money out because he didn't have his card on me. So I paid for him to get into the house. I was like, oh, this is fun. This is a good start.
Good start.
Yeah, it's
That's a mentality you guys
It's
gotta
really
have.
fun. Like there's definitely
When it's
parts
not
where-
fun, you say it's fun.
You just force the fun in, man. You just be happy.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Exactly.
definitely parts where you're like
Exactly.
overwhelmed because you like
Beautiful.
expect to be perfect, but
Yeah.
like most of it is just like
Yeah.
super fun. And
But
you're like,
like you said, don't be afraid to ask is another thing as
yeah,
well.
absolutely. Like,
Because I think it's like to let's say when you're teaching like your youngest siblings or something. I don't know if you guys have done it, but teaching them like 1 times 1 or 1 times 2, right? For you, it's just 1 times 2, which
What is that? I thought it's 5.
where you
So
obviously
confused.
think it's like really simple. It's just
yeah,
1 times
that's
2.
so true.
But then you tell them 1 times 2, and then they're like 4, right? Right.
That's so true.
And it's like you gotta also like obviously explain to you that something might be really simple
Mm.
to the other person. It might be like a whole new concept.
Yeah, and that
That's a
takes
really good way to put
that takes patience and that takes like really commitment. Like if the other person's not understanding it, you have to take the time to help them understand. And that's where communication comes in. I think where you and your partner take your time to understand each other and that culture and any problem that comes along with it. And if you can do that effectively and if you can communicate effectively, then hopefully in the long run your husband, your wife, your mother, your father stay happy throughout. They don't see any problem with it. And I think that's a really good way to put it. Communication is very good.
Alright,
It's the
guys.
one thing you need to get out.
That's it. You just gotta be really good at communicating.
Hi, hello, bye.
Yeah, so we're gonna end it up. Thank you, Kirsty, for coming up again.
Thanks for inviting
taking
me.
your time to sit down amongst us peasants and talk to us about your life.
Most welcome.
Great. So thank you guys. Hope you guys
Like
this
and subscribe.
episode. Like, subscribe, and share. Leave comments, leave reviews, please. And hopefully we'll see you guys again next week.
Bye-bye.